Uh, Dean was the funniest man I knew who wasn't supposed to be funny. And he would be funny doing and saying nothing. He just had that lightness about him.
Let's picture Angie Dickinson. She's not just any 93-year-old, she's a woman who's lived a life most of us can only dream about. Born way back in 1931, she grew up in a world so different from today. Think black and white movies, big cars with fins, and music on the radio that crackled through the air. She stepped into Hollywood when it was all glitz and glamour, a place where stars were born under bright lights. By the time she was in her 20s, she was already rubbing shoulders with big names. She acted with John Wayne, sang with Frank Sinatra, and became a face people knew all over America. So when you hear at age 93, you're not just thinking about an old lady, you're thinking about a legend who's seen it all. And that makes you curious, what's left for her to say or do after so long? Age 93 isn't just a number here, it's a signal. It tells you time has passed, lots of it. Angie's been around for almost a century, she's watched the world change. TV went from black and white to color, phones went from heavy things on walls to tiny screens in our pockets. Wars came and went, fashion flipped from long dresses to jeans and back again. Through all that she was there, living her life, making movies, raising a family. But 93 also means she's at a point where most people slow down. They sit back, rest, maybe tell a few stories to their grandkids. Not Angie though. At 93, she's stepping up to do something. That's where the curiosity kicks in hard. Why not at 70 or 80? What's so special about right now that she's breaking out of that quiet, slow pace? Think about what 93 years means for a minute. That's 93 summers, 93 birthdays, 93 chances to see the world turn. For Angie, it's 93 years of keeping secrets, building a name, and maybe hiding a few things she didn't want anyone to know. Most people by that age have said what they're going to say. They've told their tales, shared their lessons. But this title says she's got something new, something fresh, something no one saw coming. That's the spark that makes you wonder. Has she been waiting all this time? Was there a reason she held back? You start picturing her sitting there, maybe in a cozy chair, her eyes sharp, her voice steady, ready to let something slip that's been locked away for decades. Let's go deeper. At 93, Angie's not young anymore. Her hair's probably gray, her hands might shake a little, but she's still here. That alone is a win. She's outlived so many people she knew, friends, co-stars, maybe even family. Life at 93 isn't easy. You've got aches, you've got memories, and you've got a past that's longer than most people's whole lives. But instead of fading away, she's making noise. That takes guts, it takes energy, and it makes you ask what's driving her. Is it something she's been scared to say, something she's proud of, or maybe something she's mad about? You don't know yet, but you want to. The idea of a 93-year-old woman, someone who could just rest, choosing to speak up instead, it's like a mystery box begging to be opened. Now think about her life a little more. Angie wasn't just a pretty face in movies, she was tough. She played strong women on screen, like in Policewoman, where she was a cop breaking rules and catching bad guys. Off screen, she had her own battles. She lost her daughter Nikki years ago, and that kind of pain doesn't go away. She was married to Burt Bacharach, a famous musician, and that ended too. Through all that, she kept going. At 93, she's a survivor. So when you hear at age 93, you're not just thinking about her age, you're thinking about everything she's carried to get there. And that makes you curious about what's next. Is this about her past, her family, her career, or something bigger? Here's where it gets really interesting. At 93, time's running short. Not to be grim, but it's true. She knows it, we know it. That adds a push to the story. Whatever she's doing, whatever she's saying, it feels urgent. Like she's been holding this thing close, waiting for the right moment, and now she can't wait anymore. That's the suspense part creeping in. You start wondering if this is her last big move, her final word. Maybe she's looking back and saying, okay, it's time. Time for what? That's the question that keeps you hooked. You can almost see her, sitting there ready to spill something that's been eating at her for years, something she couldn't say when she was younger, when she was busy being a star. And then there's the flip side. Maybe it's not heavy at all. Maybe at 93 she's just having fun. Maybe she's laughing, thinking, I've lived this long, why not shake things up? That's possible too. She could be playful, dropping a surprise just to see our faces. But even then, you're curious. What's the surprise? A funny story from the old days, a secret about a movie set, or something wilder. The age 93 makes it bigger either way. It's not a 30-year-old popping off with a quick tale. It's someone who's seen almost 100 years of life, stepping into the light one more time. So at age 93 inches, isn't just 3 little words. It's a door cracking open. It's a whisper that says, hey, you won't believe this. It hooks you because it's rare. It makes you curious because it's her, Angie, at this exact moment, and it keeps you guessing about what's behind it all. Is it joy? Is it pain? Is it a laugh or a tear? You don't know yet, but you want to. That's the magic of it. At 93, she's got your attention, and she's not letting go. So let's step back and think about who Angie Dickinson is. She's not a stranger. She's a star, a real Hollywood star from the days when movies and TV were everything. Born in 1931, she came into the world in a small town in North Dakota, far from the bright lights of fame, but she didn't stay small. She grew up, moved to California, and stepped into a world of cameras and crowds. By the 1950s, she was on screens, her blonde hair and sharp smile catching eyes everywhere. She wasn't just pretty though. She had something extra, a spark that made people watch her. That's what makes her name pop now. You hear Angie Dickinson, and you're thinking of a woman who climbed from nowhere to somewhere huge. What's she up to today that's got her name buzzing again? Let's talk about her life a bit. Angie wasn't one of those stars who just showed up for a year and faded. She stuck around. She acted in big movies like Rio Bravo with John Wayne, a cowboy film that people still talk about. She stood toe-to-toe with tough guys and held her own. Then came Policewoman in the 1970s, a TV show where she played Pepper Anderson, a cop who didn't mess around. That role made her a name in every living room. People loved her. She was strong, smart, and cool, all at once. So when you hear Angie Dickinson now, you're not just hearing a name, you're hearing years of grit and glamour rolled into one. And that makes you wonder what's left for a woman like that to say. Here's where it gets juicy. Angie didn't just act, she lived. She was friends with giants like Frank Sinatra, part of that Rat Pack crowd, where the nights were long, and the stories were wild. She married Burt Bacharach, a music man who wrote songs everyone knows, like Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head. They had a daughter, Nikki, and life looked perfect for a while. But it wasn't all easy. Her marriage fell apart. Nikki had struggles, and then in 2000, she passed away. That hit Angie hard. Through it all though, she kept her head up. She didn't spill her heart out to the world. She stayed private, classy, letting her work talk for her. So when her name comes up now, you're curious. Is this about that life? Those highs and lows? What's she ready to share? Think about her for a second. Angie Dickinson isn't some young star chasing fame. She's been famous. She's done the red carpets, the interviews, the photo shoots. She's 93 now, a woman who's seen Hollywood change from big studios to streaming screens. She's watched friends come and go, trends flip and flop. Her name isn't just a label, it's a bridge to a whole era. That's what hooks you. It's like opening a book you thought was finished, only to find a new chapter. What's in that chapter? Is it a memory from the old days, a secret from behind the scenes, or something nobody ever guessed about her? Let's keep going. Angie's name isn't just about her past though. It's about who she is today. At 93, she's not out there doing movies anymore. She's not on TV every night. She's been quiet, living her life away from the noise, but her name still means something. People still know it, they still care. That's power. Not everyone keeps that kind of pull after so long. So when you see Angie Dickinson tied to something new, your mind starts racing. What's pulling her back into the light? Is it something she's been sitting on forever, something she couldn't say before? You can almost see her, that famous smile, those knowing eyes, ready to drop a surprise. Here's the fun part. Angie's always had a way of keeping people guessing. Back in her acting days, she could play sweet one minute, tough the next. She wasn't predictable. That's why her name hooks you now. You don't know what's coming, but you know it's her, so it's got to be good. Maybe it's a story about Sinatra, a night nobody else saw. Maybe it's about a movie she almost made, or a fight she had with someone big. Or maybe it's personal, something about her daughter, her heart, her regrets. The curiosity builds because her name promises something real, something raw, something only Angie Dickinson could bring. And then there's this, she's 93, that age next to her name makes it bigger. It's not just Angie Dickinson talking, it's Angie Dickinson after all these years, all that life. She's not a kid spilling gossip. She's a woman who's seen the world turn, who's laughed and cried and kept going. That's what keeps you hanging on. Her name isn't just a name, it's a signal that something's brewing. Something she's held close, maybe for decades. You start wondering, did she wait because she had to? Was she protecting someone? Or was she just waiting for the right time to let it out? Let's wrap it around. Angie Dickinson isn't some dusty old name, it's alive, kicking, pulling you in. It hooks you because it's her. A star, a survivor, a mystery. It makes you curious because it's not over yet. She's got something to say, and her name alone tells you it's worth hearing. Is it about Hollywood, love, loss, or something wilder? You don't know, but you want to. That's the pull. Angie Dickinson, the woman who's done it all, is stepping up again. What's she got up her sleeve? You're already itching to find out. Now let's think about what exposes really means here. It's not a soft word. It's sharp, bold, like a spotlight snapping on in a dark room. When someone exposes something, they're not playing around. They're saying, here it is, look at it, I'm not hiding anymore. In this title, it's Angie Dickinson doing the exposing, and that makes it even bigger. She's 93. A woman who's lived through decades of fame, love, and loss. She's kept her cards close all this time, so when you hear she's exposing something, you know it's not small. It's gotta be a bombshell, something that's been tucked away for years. That's where the curiosity kicks in. What could it be? Is it about her career? Her personal life? Something darker? Let's dig a little deeper. Exposing something means taking a risk. It means you're ready to show the world a piece of you they haven't seen. For Angie, that's huge. She's been a star since the 1950s, always in the public eye, but she's also been private. She didn't spill every detail of her life like some people do. She kept things quiet, classy. So when you hear she's exposing something now, you wonder why. Why after all this time? What's pushing her to pull back the curtain? That's the question that keeps you hooked. Is it something she's been scared to say? Something she's proud of? Or something that's been eating at her for years? Think about the word for a second. Exposes isn't gentle. It's raw. It's like opening a locked box and dumping the contents out for everyone to see. It makes you picture Angie sitting there, maybe in a cozy room. Her eyes steady, her voice clear, saying something that makes jaws drop. What could it be? Maybe it's a story from her Hollywood days, something wild that happened on a movie set. Or maybe it's personal. Something about her family, her daughter Nikki, who passed away years ago. Or could it be bigger? A secret about the industry. A truth about someone famous she worked with. The word exposes doesn't tell you what, but it tells you it's real, and that's enough to keep you curious. Let's go a bit further. Exposing something at 93 is different from doing it at 30 or 50. At 93, you've got nothing left to prove. Angie's not chasing fame anymore. She's had it. She's not trying to impress anyone. She doesn't need to. So when she exposes something now, it feels pure. It's not for show or attention. It's for her. Maybe it's something she's been carrying too long. Something heavy, and she's ready to let it go. That makes you wonder even more. What's been weighing on her? Was it a mistake she made? A lie she lived with? Or something nobody ever guessed? The idea of her choosing this moment, after all these years to lay it out, it's like a puzzle you can't stop trying to solve. Now picture her life a little. Angie's been through so much. She starred in big films, like Rio Bravo, where she held her own with tough guys like John Wayne. She broke ground on TV with Policewoman, playing a cop when women didn't usually get those roles. Off-screen, she had her share of pain. Losing her daughter, splitting with her husband Burt Bacharach, facing the ups and downs of fame. Through it all, she kept a lot inside. She didn't air her laundry for the world to see. So when you hear she's exposing something, it's like a door creaking open to a room nobody's been in. What's behind that door? That's the curiosity that keeps you glued. Let's keep rolling with this. The word exposes also makes you think about who's going to feel it. Is this something that'll shock her fans? Her family? Maybe even old friends from her Hollywood days? When you expose something, it's not just about you, it's about everyone it touches. Maybe she's naming names, pointing fingers. Or maybe she's just showing a side of herself we never saw, like a hidden hurt or a quiet victory. Either way, the word promises impact. It's not a whisper, it's a shout. And you can't help but wonder who's going to hear it and what they'll think. Here's another angle. Exposing something means you're done hiding. For Angie, that's a big deal. She's spent years being the cool, collected star, the one who smiled and kept moving. She didn't crack under pressure, didn't spill every secret to stay relevant. But now with this one word, she's flipping the script. She's saying, I've got something to show you. That takes guts, especially at her age. It makes you ask what's so important that she's ready to risk it all. Is it a confession? A revelation? A truth nobody saw coming? The word exposes dangles that question in front of you. And you can't look away. And then there's this maybe it's not even heavy. Maybe exposes here means something lighter, like showing. Now let's think about what was in this title. It's tied to Angie Dickinson, a woman who's 93, exposing something big. Those words, what was, point backward. They're like a finger tapping on an old photo album, saying, look here, there's more to this than you thought. It's not about today or tomorrow, it's about yesterday. Maybe years ago, maybe decades. That's where the curiosity starts creeping in. What's she looking back at? Is it something from her Hollywood days? Something from her personal life? Something she's kept quiet all this time? You don't know yet, but you want to. Because what was feels like the start of a secret unwinding. Let's dig into that a bit. What was means the past. Plain and simple. For Angie, that's a long past. She's lived 93 years, and every one of those years has a story. She was a star in the 1950s and 60s, walking onto movie sets with big names like John Wayne and Frank Sinatra. She was on TV in the 70s, playing a tough cop and policewoman. She had a family, a daughter, a marriage that came and went. That's a lot of what was to pick from. So when you hear those words, you wonder which piece of her past she's pulling out. Is it a happy memory? A sad one? Something she's ashamed of? The past is wide open, and that makes you curious about where she's pointing. Think about it more. What was isn't just any past. It's something specific. Something she's choosing to expose now. That's the key. She's not just reminiscing about old times, like how the weather was nice, or how she liked a certain dress. No, this is bigger. It's something that was something that happened. Something real. Something she's kept under wraps. That's what hooks you. It's like she's reaching into a drawer, pulling out a letter nobody else has read, and saying, this is it. This is what I've been holding. What could it be? A moment she's never talked about. A choice she made. A person she knew. Your mind starts running with ideas. Let's keep going. The past is tricky. It's done, but it's not gone. For Angie, what was could be anything from her 93 years. Maybe it's a day on a movie set when something wild happened. Something the cameras didn't catch. Maybe it's a night with Sinatra's crew. A story too crazy to tell back then. Or maybe it's quieter, like a talk she had with her daughter Nikki before she passed. Something private that shaped her. The words what was don't tell you which, but they promise it's something that matters. That's where the curiosity digs in deeper. Was it good? Was it bad? Was it something that changed her life? You're itching to know. Now picture Angie for a second. She's 93, sitting there thinking about her life. She's seen so much. She's been the glamorous star, the grieving mom, the woman who kept going when things got tough. What was could be any part of that. Maybe it's about her marriage to Burt Bacharach, the musician she loved and lost. Maybe it's about a role she didn't take, a chance she missed that's haunted her. Or maybe it's something nobody ever suspected, like a friend who betrayed her or a secret she swore to keep. The past is full of shadows, and what was is like a light flicking on, showing you one of them. Which one? That's the question that keeps you hanging on. Let's take it further. What was feels heavy because it's tied to her exposing it. She's not just remembering, she's showing it to the world. That means it's not some little thing she forgot until now. It's something that stuck with her. Something that was and still is, in a way. Maybe it's a truth she couldn't face back then. Maybe it's something she hid to protect herself, or someone else. Or maybe it's a victory she never got credit for. The past isn't always pretty, and Angie's had her share of rough spots, losing Nikki, splitting with Burt, fading from the spotlight. Could what was be about one of those? You don't know, but you're curious because it feels like she's ready to settle a score or share a piece of her soul. Here's another thought. What was makes you wonder how long it's been there. Was it 50 years ago? 25? Angie's life is like a long road, and this could be from any mile along the way. Maybe it's from her early days, when she was young and new to fame, figuring out who to trust. Or maybe it's later, when she was a mom juggling work and home. The words don't say, but they tease you with the unknown. How long has she carried this? Did she always plan to tell? Or did it just hit her now, at 93, that it's time? That's the hook that keeps pulling you back. It's not just what it was, it's why it's coming up now. And then there's this what was could be anything. That's the beauty of it. It could be a laugh, a tear, a fight, a kiss. It could be a day she won big, or a night she lost everything. For Angie, the past is a treasure chest, and she's picking one thing to show us. Maybe it's something small that grew big in her mind over time. Maybe it's huge, something that shook her world back then. The curiosity is endless, because what was is so open. Was it love? Was it pain? Was it a lie? She lived. You can almost hear her voice, starting to tell it, and you're dying to hear the rest. So what was isn't just two words, it's a window to Angie's life, a peek at something she's kept close. It hooks you because it's the past breaking free. It makes you curious because it's hers and she's choosing now to let it out. Now let's bring this to Angie Dickinson. Hidden all along is part of her story here. She's 93, exposing what was hidden all along. Those three words are like a key turning in a lock. They tell you there's been something in her life, something big that nobody saw. Not her fans, not her friends, maybe not even her family. It's been there, quiet, waiting through all her years of fame and struggle. That's where the curiosity kicks in. What could she hide for so long? Is it a happy thing, a sad thing, something wild? You don't know yet, but those words make you feel like you're about to find out something nobody else ever did. Let's think about what hidden all along means. It's not just hidden for a day or a year. All along stretches it out, decades, maybe her whole life. Angie's 93, so that's a long time to keep something under wraps. She's been a star since the 1950s, smiling for cameras, acting in movies like Rio Bravo, shining on TV in Policewoman. People watched her every move, but this secret slipped by. That's what hooks you. How does someone so famous, so loved, keep something hidden through all that? Was it hard? Did she want to tell but couldn't? Your mind starts buzzing with questions. Picture her life for a minute. Angie's been through so much. She grew up in a small town, moved to Hollywood and became a name everyone knew. She worked with big stars, John Wayne, Frank Sinatra, and lived a life full of lights and applause. But she also had tough times. Her marriage to Burt Bacharach ended. Her daughter Nikki passed away in 2000, a pain she carried quietly. Through it all, she kept going, kept her cool. And now, hidden all along says there was something else, something she didn't show. What was it? A moment she buried, a truth she locked away. The idea that it's been there the whole time makes you curious. How did we miss Dalton it? Let's go deeper. Hiding something for so long takes work. Angie's smart, she had to be, to make it in Hollywood. She knew how to play her part, how to keep people seeing what she wanted them to see. Hidden all along means she was good at it, maybe too good. Maybe it was something small at first, something she thought would fade, but it didn't. It stayed growing heavier every year. Or maybe it was huge from the start, and she built a wall around it. That's what keeps you hooked. What takes that kind of effort? Was it about her career? Her family? Something she did or something done to her? You're dying to know. Think about this. All along means it was there when she was young, when she was at her peak, when she was grieving, when she was quiet. It was there in the 60s when she was partying with Sinatra's crew. It was there in the 70s when she was breaking ground as a TV cop. It was there in the 90s when life got harder. And it's still here now at 93. That's a lifetime of hiding. How did she do it? Did she ever slip? Almost let it out? Did anyone guess? The curiosity piles up because it's not just what's hidden, it's how she kept it that way through everything. Now imagine her at 93. Looking back, she's lived a full life. Movies, love, loss, all of it. Hidden all along suggests she's been carrying this thing like a shadow. Maybe it's a story she couldn't tell back then. Too risky, too raw. Maybe it's about a person she protected, or a mistake she covered up. Or maybe it's something good, something she held close because it was hers alone. That's what hooks you again. It could be anything. A scandal, a regret, a treasure. The all along part makes it feel like it's been sitting there, waiting for her to say, okay, now's the time. Why now? That's the question that keeps you guessing. Let's keep rolling. Hiding something that long means it's special. It's not some little gossip she forgot. It's something that stuck with her, something that mattered. Maybe it's tied to her daughter Nikki, a memory, a promise, something she couldn't share until now. Or maybe it's Hollywood, a secret from the old days when stars had to play by different rules. Could it be about Sinatra? A director? A friend who turned on her? Hidden all along doesn't say, but it whispers that it's big enough to stay secret this long. You start picturing her, maybe writing it down, maybe just deciding it's finally safe to talk. What's she letting out? Here's another angle. Hidden all along makes you wonder who else was in the dark. Her fans? We loved her, watched her, thought we knew her. Her family? Did they miss it too? Or did she hide it from herself, pushing it down until she couldn't anymore? That's what keeps the curiosity alive. It's not just the secret, it's the hiding. How did she smile through interviews, laugh at parties, cry at funerals, all while keeping this close? Was it hard? Did it hurt? Or was it easy, like a habit she didn't even notice after a while? You want to know because it's Angie, and she's made it this far with it. So hidden all along isn't just words. It's a pull, a tease, a promise. It hooks you because it's a secret that's lasted almost a century. Let quotes stake it step by step, but all together. At age 93 inches hits first. 93 is old, really old. Most people don't make it that far, and if they do, they're usually quiet, resting, not stirring things up. But here's Angie Dickinson, 93, doing something bold. That alone makes you stop. She's not a kid chasing attention. She's a woman who's lived almost a century, and she's choosing this moment to speak. Why? What's so important that it couldn't wait, or couldn't stay silent anymore? You're curious already, picturing her, maybe sitting in a soft chair, her voice steady, ready to drop something huge. Then there's Angie Dickinson. That name isn't just anyone's, it's a star's name, a piece of Hollywood history. She's been famous since the 1950s, acting with legends like John Wayne and Rio Bravo, hanging out with Frank Sinatra, leading the way on TV with Policewoman. She's the blonde with the sharp smile, the tough cop, the woman who made people watch. But she's also private, someone who didn't spill her life for the cameras. So when you see her name tied to this, you wonder, what she got left to say? Is it about those golden years? Her family? Something we never guessed. Her name pulls you in because it's her, a survivor, a legend, stepping up one more time. Next comes exposes. That word is like a spark. It's not sharing or telling, it's exposing, showing something raw, something real. At 93, Angie's not playing games. She's laying it out, no holding back. That's what hooks you deeper. Exposing means risk, truth, maybe even a little danger. What's she revealing? Is it a secret she's tired of keeping? A story she couldn't tell before? Something that'll make us gasp? You can almost hear her saying it, her words cutting through the air, and you're dying to know what's coming out of that mouth. After all this time, then what was slides in? It's the past. Her past, something that happened way back. Angie's life is long, 93 years of it. She's seen the world change, from black and white TV to today's screens, from big cars to fast phones. She's lived through fame, love, loss. What was points to one piece of that? Something specific, something done. Was it when she was young, breaking into movies, or later raising her daughter Nikki, or even after when she stepped back from the spotlight? The curiosity builds. What moment is she pulling up? Is it happy, sad, shocking? You want to know because it's been sitting there, part of her story, waiting. Finally, hidden all along seals it. This wasn't out in the open. It was buried, tucked away through decades of her life. She hid it when she was smiling for photos, when she was crying over Nikki's death, when she was walking away from fame. All along means forever. Since whenever it started, it's been there, quiet, unseen. That's what keeps you hooked. How did she keep it secret so long? Who didn't know? Her fans? Her friends? Herself? What takes that kind of strength to hide? Is it a scandal? A regret? A treasure? The idea that it's been right there, under our noses, makes you itch to find out. Put it all together, and it's a story begging to be told. At age 93, Angie Dickinson exposes what was hidden all along. It's a woman who's lived a huge life. Movies, music, heartbreak, finally saying something she's held back forever. The hook is everywhere. Her age? Why 93? Her name? Why her? The exposing? Why so bold? The past? Why that moment? The hiding? Why so long? It's like a puzzle with all the pieces clicking at once, but you don't have the picture yet. You're curious because every part pulls you deeper. Is it about Sinatra? Her daughter? A lie she lived? Something wild from the old days? Let's picture her life again. She started small, a girl from North Dakota, then climbed to Hollywood's top. She married Burt Bacharach, had Nikki, lost them both in different ways. She's been tough, glamorous, quiet. Through it all, this what was hidden all along, was with her. Maybe it's a night nobody saw, a choice nobody caught, a truth nobody guessed. At 93, she's not chasing fame or fixing her past. She's just ready. That's what hooks you. She doesn't need to do this, but she is. Why? What's driving her? Is it peace? Anger? Joy? You're leaning in, waiting for her to spill it. Think about the hiding part more. She's been watched for years. Fans, reporters, everyone. Yet this stayed hidden. How? Did she laugh it off when people got close? Did she bury it so deep she almost forgot? Or did she always know she'd tell it someday? At 93, time's short. And maybe that's it. Maybe she's saying, I can't take this with me. That's the curiosity that burns. What's worth hiding that long, then showing now? Is it big enough to change how we see her? Small enough to surprise us? So this whole title. At age 93, Angie Dickinson exposes what was hidden all along. Is a pull you can't shake. It hooks you with her age. Her name, her guts. It makes you curious with the past. The secret, the timing. You're already imagining her voice, her face, her words. What she got? A laugh? A tear? A shock? You don't know, but you're ready to hear. What do you think it might be?